Greetings, this is my MPA 3 recording. This is a compost sample, and compost is getting a bit old. It's over a year old now, so you'll notice some dormancy and some other degraded protozoa and so forth, but largely tested amoebae that have seen better days, but there's plenty to see. The dilution factor is 1 to 8, and this is field of view 1 reading 1. So let's go. There's a viable testate amoeba right here in quadrant 4. So we'll count that as an amoeba. And it appears there is a flagellate here bumbling in quadrant 1. Let's have fun here and try and grab it in its best focus. There you go. That's pretty solid. Focusing on that flagellate there. This looks like maybe something algal. And then we got some spores, various spores. Plenty of good fungi in this compost, by the way. All right, I'm going to check the upper plane of focus. It's a matter of procedure. Often I see flagellates in those higher planes, amongst other things, sometimes fungi. Field of view 2, reading 1. Okay, this looks fungal here. Either there are two kind of different hyphae going on here, or there's a transition to a thinner, maybe newer growth. Sometimes I feel like that is the case, but I'm going to count this flagellate first, and then I'm going to go back to the oculars here on this fungal hypha, potential fungal hypha. Okay, that is not terribly convincing just because of this narrowing, sort of gnarly section, for lack of a better term. There's a testate amoeba right here. I'm going to take a peek here. That test could be, appears damaged, and there's some dormancy maybe in progress, so I will not record that. Okay, we'll check this higher plane of focus. That could be the same flagellate that I noted early on in this field of view, so I will leave that one. Field of view 3, reading 1. Now this does appear fungal. Just make sure that's not a flagellate first. It's got a nice brown color, these ends. Though this is angled, it is cleanly broken on both sides there. There's a flagellate. So it's got a uniform diameter. It has color and cleanly broken ends. So we will count that as a fungal hypha to be measured. 6. And that could be the same flagellate coming back through quadrant 3. That's 6 by 2.5. Brown. Okay. I'll check this higher plane of focus. Oh. Okay, so there are two individual flagellates that are circular in shape and possibly a third. So I can comfortably count two more unique individuals. Just a quick note, this test is empty or on its way to dormancy. And we are going to move on to field of view 4, reading 1. Looks like another flagellate here. There you see the bumbling. Looks like it's dragging some organic material along with it. Which is kind of funny. Maybe not to the flagellate. Okay. There's a tiny section of fungal hypha here. You can see a septum here. Cleanly broken ends and color, of course. Count that as a 0.02 in length. And it is probably a 2.5 in diameter. Closer to 2.5 than a 3. And I am going to call that brown. Okay, is this that? Okay, so that is a different flagellate. This could be the same one, it's a similar shape. But there's another one here. So I can count another 2 with some confidence that I have not double counted the same individual. Okay, moving on to field of view 5, reading 1. Nice fungal hypha here. A little bit of a notch in the end there, but it's definitely fungal. You see a septum here. Looks like maybe a septum there. At least one septum. Uniform diameter, of course. Kind of a nice brown, reddish brown color, almost. Okay. 0.22 units in length. That is going to be a 3.5 or a 4 in diameter. Closer to 3.5. Call that brown. It's nearly red, but not quite. I've seen much redder hyphae. Here is another short fungal hypha here in quadrant 2. You can see the septum towards the left side of it. 0.05. 0.05 by 2.5. It's a light brown color, so we will give it a B. Now, there is a testate amoeba here that it looks like the test has seen better days. Here is a dormancy stage, I believe, of the testate amoeba. Another one of those I will be recording, of course. And we are just about done here with reading 1. Unless a flagellate cruises by before I'm done here. A 7-minute reading, not too bad. Okay, moving on, I will go to reading 2, of course, and I will be narrating as needed, but in the interest of time, not overly narrating, hopefully. Fungal hypha here in quadrant 2. It's that red, more red fungi that I see in this compost quite often. Length 8. Length. 0.5 in diameter. Red. This is possibly fungal, but not convincing enough. Seeing if any flagellates cruise by. Definitely see spores, as I often do. There's a cyst here. So, lots of interesting things in this sample, for sure. Okay, moving on. Field of view 2, reading 2. This could be fungal, but given that it's not colored and it's a little bit difficult to tell. Now this is interesting. There's a flagellate. Or was there? A bit of a degraded testate amoeba, so could be viable, but I won't record it just to be conservative. Okay. Back to this filament here. I see a septum there. This little section here looks wispy and kind of strange. Not typically Yeah, but it's clamp connected. Okay, so let's see. I can measure this section comfortably as a 0.02 with a consistent diameter. And that is a 2.5 diameter, most likely. Yes. And it has a bluish tint, which tends to be just the refraction of the light on a very light brown, is what I've found in my experience. Limited experience, though it may be. Okay. I swear there's a flagellate cruising through here sometimes. So I measured what I could see comfortably diameter-wise. There's some mangled sort of features there that I'm not going to attempt to try to focus on. So that is field of view 2, reading 2. Field of view 3, reading 2. Flagellate here. Oh, nice big one. Look at that. Big old flagellate. Okay. And this is an interesting object. Oh, wow. No idea what that is, but it looks maybe plant-like. Spores here. Okay. It's a different flagellate. It's a little bit broader body than that one that came through earlier. That looks like the same one I just saw. This could be fungal, although it's not. I'm not terribly confident for sure. Not sure what this is. This looks a little funky to me. Also difficult to tell. Okay. Field of view 4, reading 2. Probably something algal here. And dormant test. Now this is a weird light red colored filament. Weird in that I've not seen that color, but that looks like fungi to me. Cleanly broken ends, uniform diameter and color. There goes a flagellate through quadrant 3. Neat. Nice 3. Count the flagellate. That's circular bodied organism. That's the, that's the same shape, so I lost track of that one that I counted to know whether or not it was the same one or a different one. Okay, just checking this filament. There's that same party animal. With that, all right. Field of view 5, reading 2. Now this is fungal for sure. Here in quadrant 2. Looks like there's another hypha in quadrant 4. Let's see where I can grab this. Right from the edge of this spore, though I'm sure it's not growing out of the spore. It's going behind. That's what it looks like. There's a flagellate down here in quadrant 3. 9 units. 3.5. Okay, and then right here, oh yeah, there's a septum there. So measure from the cursor to the edge of the camera view. It's closer to 2. Round. other flagellate. And that is definitely a different shape. Open it, that is a different individual. And here is another short little reddish piece of fungal hypha. 0.03. Yep. 4 or 4.5. Okay, that's it for reading 2. Minutes. Going on to field of view 1, reading 3. Like maybe a flagellate went down through this corner of quadrant 3. There's one here. Right there, that little guy. I won't count the one that went through that corner because obviously I didn't see it. Oh, there's another one coming from an entirely different direction, so I can be confident that is likely a different individual. Now that might be the same one that just circled out of the camera view and back in. Okay. This is a flagellant, happy, flagellant, rich sample. Check the higher plane of focus twice, so we're moving on. Field of view 2, reading 3. So flagellate here in quadrant 4. Same flagellate. Okay. This looks like a cleanly broken ended clear fungal hypha. I'm going to take a peek in the oculars. Keep an eye out for flagellates since both those ends are clean and the diameter is uniform. I have seen clear fungi in this compost. Some of it septated, some of it clamp connected. So, 1, 2. It's a diameter of 4, most likely. This for 4. And that flagellate looks similar to what I've seen. Could be the same one. I won't. Oh, that's a different one. One of those is different. Okay. Wow. We have flagellates galore. All right. Field of view 3, reading 3. And we have another flagellate here. Partying near these two aggregates. There we go. Nice focus there. Okay. A fungal hypha here in quadrant 3. 0.07. 4. Brown. Okay. There's a piece of fungal hypha here in light brown. And this looks fungal here, this hypha here. Looks like maybe a septum, but I am going to look here in the oculars just for another vantage point. Yeah, that is a septum there. And the diameter clearly changes here on this little branch. So I'm going to measure from the cursor to the left where the diameter is more uniform. Get a good focus, maybe near where that septum is. Another flagellate over here. Looks like maybe even another one there. There it is. Oh, wow. Holy cow. That fungal hypha. That's actually closer to a 2 than a 2.5. Okay. And that's nearly. This could be a Cercozoa, though it's not. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, I think that was the same one that's super hyper. All right, moving on. Field of view 4, reading 3. Septum right there, I think. Flagellate. Fungal hypha. Two. It's yellow. And then there's a tiny fungal hypha here. 3 by 2. Brown. Another flagellate. Another flagellate. Okay. Field of view 5, reading 3. Interesting. Very cool. Wow. This is just. This is the coolest. Okay. Looks like I'll have to record a 0. Oh, nope. There's a flagellate there. All right. That's it for reading 3. Reading 4. Field of view 1. Ooh, this is getting a little desolate. There's a piece of fungal hypha here. See a septum, the color, and uniform diameter. And there's a flagellate here in quadrant 4. Sort of 3 is reddish. That's another. So one of those flagellates could, I think that's one of the same, but there was a unique new one that just went through the top of quadrant 1. It's possibly a protozoa. No, it is not. Okay. Field of view 2, reading 4. Fungal hypha here in quadrant 4. Actually goes behind this piece of organic material to this edge here, it looks like. See if it's connected there. Yep, makes a little turn. I'm gonna measure this separate. I think it appears a bit wider. That is 3 diameter, I think. 3 round. And then, with this obstruction, I am going to refrain from trying to measure that. This could be fungal here. Looks like maybe there's a septum there. It's pretty obscured. Kind of hard to get a diameter on that. There's a flagellate in the top of quadrant 1. I'm going to skip this just because it's so obstructed. Okay. Field of view 3, reading 4. There's a flagellate going through quadrant 1 there. Holy flagellate city. Okay. Nice fungal hypha here in quadrant 3. Closer to 2.5. It's a bit red. And then there's a short little section here. Separate. 2. Actually, more like a 3.5. It's so reddish. Okay, there's a flagellate there, going through quadrant 2. And there's a fungal hypha here in quadrant 1. 8. Tan. Okay. It'll be 4, reading 4. All right, 2 flagellates immediately noticed here, and then one going out of quadrant 1. This testate amoeba does have contents in it. The test looks intact to me. This could be that same flagellate I saw behind this aggregate when I first started the field of view. You can see the opening here. I'm going to count that testate amoeba. It appears viable to me. And there's another flagellate in this higher plane of focus. Okay. Okay. Field of view 5, reading 4. So fungal hypha here. It appears there's a hypha here too, but it's this section here is a bit, I can't get a good enough focus on it. This section here is crystal clear to me. And quadrant 1, so I will measure that. 0.9. That is either a 2 or 2.5. 0.9 by 2.5. It's kind of a light brown color. Okay. Up. There was a flagellate that just went out of quadrant 3 there. Little skinny one bumbling. Okay, that is it for reading 4. I'll move on to reading 5, field of view 1. Okay, light brown fungal hypha here. That's 5. 4. And then it appears there's a fungal hypha here, the septum there. Nice uniform diameter. I can see to here, so I will measure this end where the cursor is, essentially to the beginning of the aggregate. There goes a flagellate right past my measurement. One, 6, 2. Flagellate. Oh, another flagellate here by this aggregate. And another flagellate here in quadrant 1. Possible cercozoa, but I'm not positive. Just the internal graininess that I'm confident to look for. That could be this same flagellate. There's flagellates everywhere. Holy cow. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to field of view 2, reading 5. There's a flagellate here. Looks like he's got something stuck on its flagellum. Quadrant 1. Looks like maybe there was one in quadrant 2 as well, but I did not see it. So those little guys, I don't know if there's a modal bacteria or very small flagellates. I won't count that fast one that went by. And there's a short piece of fungal hypha here in quadrant 3, tan colored. Two, tan, that a 2. There's a unique flagellate. Okay, there's another flagellate that went through quadrant 2 here. More circular shaped morphology. Okay. All right. Field of view 3, rating 5. Flagellate there. Quadrant 3, next to that fungal hypha. Looks like there's a very short visible piece, and it is short beyond the camera view of fungal hypha. So I'll close that a point. Oh, at a 0.02. And since I can see the end of it, the cleanly broken end, this one was 2.5. Red. Okay, and then there's a septated, that could be that same flagellate that came through here. Narrow fungal hypha here. Wasn't 3. And this is it's a 2. That was even maybe a 1.5. Okay. Looks like there could be something fungal in that aggregate. Obviously, I'm not going to try to measure that. Another flagellate. And we're going to move on to field of view 4, reading 5. This appears fungal. I'm going to look. Color and uniform diameter, cleanly broken end. Well, there's a flagellate right there. More on that filament. Very light brown colored. That's the same flagellate. Look up here in this higher plane of focus. See if I can count. Looks like a monobacteria, maybe. Bacterium. Okay, moving on. Field of view 5, reading 5. Fungal hypha here in quadrant 2. That's our 4x2. Brown. I'm going to take a shot at this being a Cercozoa. You can see like these little pseudopods. They look like 4 little pseudopods around it. It definitely does not look like a cyst. I will count it as an amoeba. Taking a little bit of a risk with that one, but I've seen those many times. They look like some type of an amoeba or protozoa. That's it for reading 5, and that's it for this assessment. Thanks a lot for watching and grading.